rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice and come in. And now let's have the professionals do it.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Enter, rejoice, and come in, or enter, rejoice, and log in if you are joining us on Zoom. We come together by the light of our chalice flame. If you are joining us from home, we invite you to light a candle or a chalice along with us. And let us all join together as we say the words we say each week to light our flaming chalice. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way, as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people. It is good to be together. That is something to rejoice in. And also, this morning we must name that we come into this space with a lot on our minds and on our hearts. I know that as we gather now, for many of us, our hearts are with Ukraine during this time of devastation, of fear, of uncertainty. This morning, along with our chalice, we have lit another candle for the people of Ukraine, a flame to keep them close in our hearts during our time here together.
Good morning. We're so glad to welcome you to the Fox Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship this morning. Whether you're joining us here in this room or from home, I am Scott Peoples, currently serving as one of the worship leaders here. My wife Mary and I joined the fellowship in 1989, the same year we were married and moved to Appleton from Milwaukee. If this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. When we joined, we had one service, no gatherings in the summer, and an interim minister. In my time here, we welcomed our first settled minister and said goodbye to him 25 years later. Our two daughters were dedicated as babies and participated in coming of age. The fellowship has shaped my life in so many ways, helping me create a moral compass and support my evolving faith. Our director of congregational life, Marie Luna, would love to help you get connected here. Feel free to chat with her after the service or send her an email. And thank you to everyone who has made this morning's service possible. It's time now to settle in, take a deep breath, become aware of your body wherever you are. Allow yourself to be fully present so we can enjoy and appreciate this time together.
We are gathered together here and from our own homes, and we are so happy to see you and glad that you are with us. Our call to gather this morning is inspired by the words of UU religious educator Laura Yvonne Steinem. When I indicate like this, your response is, let us listen. So let's try that out. Let us listen. Perfect. We are a community of all ages, of all stages of life. Let us listen deeply to what is on our hearts. Let us listen to what our fears are. Let us listen. Let us listen deeply to what is on your heart. Let us listen to what your fears are. Let us listen. Let us listen to the elders, to the teens, to the children. Let us listen. Let us listen when the world is rejoicing, when the world is trembling, when the world is hurting. Let us listen. Come, let us worship together.
Today in our service, we are learning from the wisdom of our fellowship children. Unfortunately, most of our children have not been able to be in-person worship with us during the pandemic, but they are an important and valued members of this multi-generational community, a nurturing community that only exists with support from us all. If you find yourself in need of emotional, spiritual, or financial support, we are here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Reverend Christina or Minister Allie. It is a joy for us to be able to offer help. And if you are one who is feeling stable and able to give, we ask that you do so in the spirit of generosity and abundance. There are many ways to give to the fellowship. You can give of your time and talent. And also, we are especially in need of financial resources to allow our ministries to thrive for the months and years to come. To give this morning, if you are here in our building, we invite you to come up to one of our ushers who are standing at the back of our sanctuary, or you can raise your hand to have one of them come to you. If you already give via electronic funds transfer or EFT, we appreciate that. Anyone can also donate online or via our text to give function on a smartphone. Thank you. Your gifts are deeply appreciated.
Our settling song is Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We'll sing it through twice. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
In order to keep everyone as safe as possible as we've started to regather in this stage of the pandemic, many of our children have not been able to be with us in worship. And that's something that is hard for me as a minister to reconcile with, because the truth is that our community is not whole unless all generations are represented. That's why this week, Scott and I decided it was important to bring our community's children into our worship service, even if their bodies are not present in the room with us. You may have noticed our children's artwork featured on some of the service's PowerPoint slides. They also made this pulpit cloth that you see up front here. They designed the patches with things that they love about the fellowship, and a special thank you to Mary Gerlach, who jumped in to sew that pulpit cloth for us. I welcome anyone after the service to come and take a closer look. We also want to share with you their thoughts and their wisdom. Our beloved religious education teachers get to learn from our children every week, and now it's our turn. Last week, Scott and I visited the kindergarten through 6th grade RE class, and we asked them 3 questions. The first, what does your heart know is important? The second, what do you wish adults knew? And the third, what do you like about the fellowship?
Here is just a taste of what we heard from Jake, Jack, Elena, William, Izzy, Nevin, Evelyn, Tyson, and Trayvon, ages 5 to 10.
What does your heart know is important?
Teachers,
Happiness for all, togetherness,
shelter, food, and water to make you healthy.
family members, relationships, love, and all of that.
It's important to be together because it would be sad to be lonely, and you would not have people to encourage you to do stuff. You should be there for people.
God.
Cheez-Its.
It is important to be kind. And if people are hurt, help them get up. Help them out. Don't do dumb or dangerous stuff.
Trees.
Animals. And believing in yourself so that you can do all different kinds of things.
Understanding our feelings and how our spirit reacts to things.
What is something you wish that adults knew?
Not everything is serious. You can have fun in life.
I wish adults knew how things would work out. Like if there was a battle, I wish they would know who would win. I wish they could predict the future.
I wish adults would listen to what I say about what my passion is.
I wish adults knew about when we were going to die and what happens after you die.
I wish that they would let us make more decisions for ourselves.
If there was a problem that you had, I wish adults would just know what was going on so that if you didn't want to talk, then they could just know.
I wish they knew that tests aren't always good. There's too much testing in school. There are other ways to show what we learn other than testing.
What do you like about the fellowship?
I get to come here and see all my friends that I don't get to see in school or in my neighborhood. This is the only place that I can see them.
I like watching people do things that they love here.
I love making new friends. I started going to the fellowship when I was 3 or 4. Before that, I never knew any of these people. But now I know most of them by heart, and I love making new friends. It just brought me kindness and brought me to see what everyone else likes. And I like learning new things. I'd never experienced anything like what we do here before, and now I get to.
We learn more about important people, like Harriet Tubman.
We encourage each other.
I love the building and how it is constructed. I love how I can look through those windows and watch my dad and experience him playing the piano with love and happiness.
We get to take care of our earth here.
I like that you can talk about things that are personal to yourself here, and they won't get out in the open. Nobody here makes fun of you. I like that we can just be open here. Hear these words from our children.
After little interaction with our fellowship's young people in several years, I enjoyed spending an hour in our religious education program last Sunday. We moved from tables where we were coloring to a circle in the middle of Fellowship Hall, our former sanctuary, to do introductions and share joys and concerns. As we made the next transition, the young people were given the floor. And that's when the B word came out. Someone announced that when they think of the fellowship, they think of it as being boring. Smiles curled up on the faces of several of the kids, almost mischievously, and the word was repeated a couple times. Boring. Yeah, boring. As someone who has worked with children for a living a good portion of my life, hearing that word has a pin in the balloon effect. It takes all the air out of you. When you hear it, you know you have to regroup quickly, say something clever, and reevaluate whatever you thought you'd be doing next. But this was different. I could sense this was a frivolous bit of Sunday morning silliness. For these young people, the children in our religious education program, it was just a word, their own word, yes, but one they had no intention of taking seriously. As I suspected, a few minutes later, they were waxing poetic in answer to questions we asked them to gather wisdom for our service today. Not the least bit deflated, my balloon was quickly gathering air. What do you wish adults knew? We asked the children. I wish they knew how feelings worked, one child said. What do you like about the fellowship? Learning more about Harriet Tubman, another voice answered, quite specifically. Then perhaps our deepest question, what does your heart know is important? Family members, being kind, our teachers, how our spirit reacts to things, trees. Class continued with the children making flags and the pulpit cloth that we see displayed here this morning. All the while, with little prompting, the discussions continued. In the midst of making a section of the story cloth, one boy reminded me of something he had learned at the fellowship. He didn't explain the context, but had learned the story of Pandora's box during religious education classes. Pandora's box. The myth of Pandora's box is the story of the first woman on earth. Pandora was, according to the story, created by gods and given a box with instructions not to open it. But curiosity overwhelmed her, and she opened it, releasing a profusion of evil into the world. Closing the box as quickly as possible, she shut it too fast, and with that action, closed in hope for humanity. His retelling of the story reminds me that stories like these are how we avoid learning becoming boring for children. As adults, we keep telling the stories, our stories, myths such as Pandora's box, or historical lesson like that of Tubman and the Underground Railroad. In turn, children's zest for living, for growing, for enjoying life as they know it thrives. As the tale goes, Pandora traps hope inside. But there is another version of the myth where hope does come out. Thinking about children and the wisdom they give us, that we give each other, makes me believe that hope is abundant, alive. The wisdom of our children is like that of Pandora and her box, curious, excited, sometimes downhearted too. We learn as much from our children as they do from us. Together, we're telling stories and opening new Pandora's boxes every day, which means it's never boring, and there's always hope.
Thank you so much, Scott. And I also want to take a moment of gratitude for the children in our community. So I invite you to just send some gratitude backwards through these doors in the back of the room and into our religious education classrooms. We really owe them a great deal for their wisdom today. And also so much gratitude to our Director of Religious Education, Kim Hartman, and all of our wonderful RE teachers. Thank you. When I was 8 years old, I made my mom a birthday card for her 39th birthday. Now, homemade cards were pretty common in my family growing up, but this one in particular has lived in infamy. My family has remembered this one specific card very fondly for 26 years, and they won't let me forget it. It was a piece of construction paper, and it was folded in half. And on the front, in pencil, I drew a really huge number 3 next to a huge number 9. So the number 39 took up the entire front of the card. And when you open up the card on the inside, I wrote this message: 39! Exclamation point. What a big number! My dad couldn't stop laughing. My mom was speechless before she too started giggling at my faux pas here. I didn't understand what was so funny. I thought it was a clever card. I mean, I was always excited about getting older. 7-year-old me had been thrilled to turn 8. And I loved birthday cards that celebrated my growing age. I didn't understand why grown-ups would not be happy to be older. To me, 39 was a big number, and my mom was lucky to be 39. Kids see the world in a specific way, don't they? There's a very particular kind of important wisdom that comes with being a child. Many kids have not yet had the chance to accumulate all the baggage from the world around us the way that grown-ups have. Not yet finding themselves limited by social conventions and expectations that come with being an adult. Not yet having been grasped by one set understanding of how the world works. Kids are great at reminding us that things don't always have to be the way they are. or the way they have been. This is the kind of wisdom that I expected to shine when Scott and I visited the kids in our fellowship's religious education program last week. And it did. You heard it. You heard some of it when we shared with you their thoughts earlier in the service. You heard them reminding us that not everything is so serious. You can have fun in life. You heard them say there's too much testing in school. There are other ways to show what we learn other than testing. There are other ways. There are other ways. Kids are great at reminding us that things don't always have to be the way they've been. And each time they do this, it's an invitation to us to take their words and their ideas seriously, to think critically about how we do things, about how we might be limiting ourselves, to be curious. Are there other ways? What might those be? But there was also another level of wisdom that our fellowship children shared with us during our conversation together. An intuitive wisdom, a heart-level wisdom about humanity, about what it means to exist in a community with others. We heard them talk about togetherness, being kind, encouraging each other, valuing our planet, understanding emotions. We heard them talk about the joy of watching someone do what they love. We heard them share about these things so plainly, so simply, so matter-of-factly, with such ease and such clarity. Their words resonated so deeply that I could feel these very same thoughts and feelings bubbling up somewhere deep inside of me too. Not only because I agreed with what they were saying, but more importantly, because I could almost feel 8-year-old me enthusiastically nodding along with everything that was being said and chiming in right along with them. We each are all the ages we have ever been. I'm not sure who articulated this idea originally, but I do know that novelist Madeleine L'Engle has said it this way: I am still every age that I have been. Because I was once a child, I am always a child. Because I was once a searching adolescent given to moods and ecstasies, there's still a part of me and always will be. These are still a part of me and always will be. This does not mean that I ought to be trapped or enclosed in any of these ages, the delayed adolescent, the childish adult, but that they are in me to be drawn on. They are in me to be drawn on. We each are all the ages we have ever been. And every age we have ever been carries with it specific wisdom and insight. When we talk about someone being in touch with their inner child, we often think about tapping into playfulness and a sense of wonder, right? And these are important. That's very valuable wisdom. But there's also more there too. And I think our kids deserve a little more credit. Because think about it. What is it that children are actually doing in their formative years? What is special about our youngest stages of life? Children are constantly engaging in the process of learning what it means to be human. That's what they're doing. That's their job. That's their primary responsibility, learning what it means to be human, exploring humanness in all its forms, on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a moral or even spiritual level. Children are making sense of their bodies, their inner worlds, the world around them. And they're forced to do this work because everything is just still so new to a child. After leveling up to adulthood, it's different, right? It can be so easy for us adults to think that we've figured out this whole human existence thing. But in reality, the work of learning what it means to be human, that work is never finished. It's only deepened. It's a big part of why we are here, a part of this faith community, right? To explore what it means to be human. Child psychologist and author Robert Coles points out two different important ways that children do this learning, the learning of what it means to be human. The first way he talks about is something that Scott mentioned before: stories. Children are surrounded by stories, soaking them in all the time. Bedtime stories, stories heard in school, stories told about the past, story times at the library. Children are immersed in stories on a daily basis. They're hungry for them, and they're pros at learning from them and absorbing them. The second way children learn how to be human, according to Robert Cole, is through the act of witnessing. As children are exploring and taking in the world, they are constantly paying attention to everything around them, witnessing what happens at home, at school, on the streets, out running errands with their parents or guardians, on the playground. Everywhere children go, they are witnessing, paying attention, holding on to everything that they see. And they are asking questions about what it all means. Stories and witnessing. Stories and witnessing. That's the work of learning what it means to be human. And that's a lot of what we do here at the fellowship, isn't it? We lean into stories. We bear witness to each other and to the world around us. And the more you think about it, the more it becomes clear that our journeys as adults in a community of faith are not at all different from the journeys of children. Here we talk about being a multi-generational community, and boy, is that true. Our journeys across generations are all bound up together, regardless of our age or our stage in life. All bound up together. This idea really hit me when Scott and I asked our kids in RE last week, "What do you wish adults knew?" And then we heard, "I wish adults knew when we were going to die and what happens after we die. I wish adults could predict the future." Yeah, adults are supposed to be solid, comforting pillars of answers and certainty for children, aren't they? And yet, when I heard the kids talk about their yearnings for answers and certainty, these yearnings, they felt so familiar and so relatable. They could have just as easily come from me, an adult. When I was working as a hospital chaplain this past summer, there was one night I was on an overnight shift, and I responded to a call in the emergency trauma bay. I stood there with a group of residents, doctors in training, and we waited for the ambulance to arrive with an incoming patient. One of the residents suddenly looked up and looked around the room, and all of a sudden anxiously asked, "Wait, where are the grown-ups?" I can assure you that this resident, he was no Doogie Howser, and he was indeed himself a grown-up. We all giggled at his question, knowing that he was referring to the fact that he did not see any attending physicians in the room yet, those doctors with more experience who supervise the residents. Without the security of one of those authority figures present, this competent resident felt nervous and unsure. How often do we get that feeling, even as adults, regardless of our age, that grasping for reassurance and certainty, scanning around for someone who is wiser, someone who knows what they're doing? Wait, where are the grown-ups? Or what is going to happen? Will things be okay? In these moments, it's easy to see how children and adults are so bound up on the same journey. And we're reminded so vividly of what it is like to feel deeply uncertain and vulnerable and afraid. This week was a tough one, dear ones. Our hearts break as we witness all that is happening in Ukraine. And perhaps you in your life have additional things that have made this week tough. We can feel it kicking up that uncertainty, that vulnerability, that fear, that helplessness. Those painful feelings that we first got a taste of long ago as children. Have you checked in with yourself this week? Have you checked in with the child inside of you? Our inner child is a great resource for signaling that something is going on, telling us that there are feelings or struggles that we should pay attention to. And often, no matter how heavy our hearts, no matter how weary our souls, we may have trouble holding our adult selves with tenderness and compassion. It can be much easier to summon tenderness and compassion for that child inside of us. So that's my invitation right now. If you wish to, I invite you to place a hand on your heart. You can close your eyes if you feel safe doing so. And breathe. Picture yourself as a child. What feelings come up for you looking at this child? What can you do to bring this child comfort right now? Imagine doing that. Maybe you are giving the child within you a hug. Maybe you're saying something reassuring like, I've got you. I'm with you. Just live in that interaction within yourself for a moment. Hold that child with tenderness and love. Breathe. You may come back to this space when you are ready. What was that like for you? As the children around us and within us teach us about this important process of learning to be human, a process that can reawaken joy and gratitude and possibility, and also a process that can remind us that humanness comes with the discomfort of uncertainty. It comes with vulnerability. It comes with grief. It comes with fear. It comes with feelings of helplessness. This project of existence can be hard and confusing and downright painful. That's why it's important to do it together, so that we can hold each other with love and gentleness while we tell stories and witness together. So we can be reminded that we are not alone. So that we can harness the power of connection and community with the hope that younger generations bring. In the words of 8-year-old Will from our RE program, I'd never experienced anything like what we do here before, and now I get to. May it be so, and amen.
Thank you, Allie. It's hard to sing when you're crying, but we will do it together. This is I Seek the Spirit of a Child. I seek the spirit of a child, the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all art. May I see joy's a gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that light on all we see. Children are real beyond all fears. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully. Now clouds in cloud, now golden sun, imaginations true and free. Children are real beyond all lies. May I see faith's a gift to our eyes.
If you saw some of us waving to the back of the room, the religious education class came on a little field trip because they wanted to see their pulpit cloth in the front of the sanctuary, and they were also just excited that their thoughts and ideas inspired our service today. Part of our commitment to each other and to this project of learning what it means to be human is to bring our joys and our concerns to this time together. It is our sincere hope that we can be a resource in our common quest to celebrate happy moments, to seek healing and wholeness, and continually rediscover whoever and wherever we each might be on the path of existence. For those of us joining in person, after the service, you are welcome to place a stone in our fellowship chalice as a symbol of our loving community surrounding you supportively. You can also join a member of our care team who will be in the back of the sanctuary near the bowl of stones, offering a listening presence. For those attending virtually, you are welcome to share in the chat box whatever joy, concern, prayer request, or intention might be in your heart and on your mind this morning. We place a stone in our chalice now on your behalf. For care and connection during the week, please reach out to myself or contact our office. And if you would like to include your news in our spoken joys and concerns or our weekly joys and concerns email, you can call or contact anyone on staff or fill out our website form. Today we share that Jane Keggy is dealing with a ruptured disc. We now turn our attention to the joys and concerns wider than those of this gathered community. We allow our minds and our hearts to reach out in ever-widening circles, outward like ripples in water. Our first stone that we place in our vessel of water is for our local community and for the state of Wisconsin. We hold in our hearts all in Wisconsin who are incarcerated. We name and we grieve how hard the pandemic has hit prison populations, and we rejoice that recent COVID restrictions on in-person visitations to Wisconsin prisons have been or will be lifted as of March 1st. Those restrictions will be lifted. May this offer incarcerated folks some relief, some comfort, and some connection. We add our next stone for the United States. Our hearts are with Texas this week, as the governor has threatened the safety of trans and non-binary children and youth and that of the families and professionals who support them. We wrap our hearts around the trans and non-binary siblings in Texas and those everywhere who are being subjected to the harm of once again hearing deeply anti-trans rhetoric in national conversation. As a community of faith, we support and we celebrate life-saving gender affirmation care in all of its forms. As the ripples continue, we recognize our interconnectedness across borders and across oceans. We add another stone for Ukraine. What can be said? Our hearts break. We grieve with the people of Ukraine. We cry. We rage. We tremble with them. We witness their pain and fear, and we hold it in our bodies. We pray for their safety. We pray for peace. Our hearts are also with the people of Russia as we see their protests and civil disobedience in the streets. With gratitude and awe, we witness their courage. We hold it as inspiration. We pray for their safety. We pray for peace. We enfold all who are celebrating and all who are suffering in the embrace of our hearts, and we commit ourselves to acts of compassion and justice in service to those circles beyond our own. May this moment of silence help make it so.
Our time together is coming to a close, which means our time to return to the world and to our daily lives is beginning. Please remember there are always ways to get more connected here, even online, and to live our faith more fully. And if today's service inspired you to get to know the children of our fellowship community better, we hope you'll reach out to our Director of Religious Education, Kim Hartman, or anyone on staff to learn more about becoming an RE volunteer. Also be sure to read the weekly Scroll email newsletter or let us know if you'd like to be added to that mailing list. And you can also check out the back of your order of service for some highlights of what is coming up. At this time, I would like to invite forward a member of our Leadership Development Committee to share about one special event in particular.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Van Sickle, and I am part of the Leadership Development Committee. And it's time for our second session of Under the Hood in 2 hours. We're going to check out a quick video here for more information, as well as some of the changes that we've made for this round.
Ever wonder how to participate in the annual meeting? Or who owns and runs the fellowship? What are all the groups and committees, and where might I fit in? Then you should think about attending Under the Hood, where we're going to open up the hood of the fellowship and look at some of the intricacies of how our community runs. And you'll hear from some of the fantastic leaders of the fellowship, like Teresa Hanna, Mary Ellen Bixta, Ann Fisher, Bob Williams, Brian Merton, and Marty Wheeler. So you best join us for Under the Hood on Saturday, March 5th, starting at 10 a.m. Oh, and did I mention we were able to compress 24 hours of content from our normal class with just a few minor cuts into only 2 hours. And we have optimized our activities for a virtual experience. That's right, you can join us from just about anywhere as long as you have a device with an internet connection. If you want, you don't even have to get out of bed. So please join us on Saturday, March 5th, starting at 10 a.m. for Under the Hood in 2 hours, virtual edition. I hope to see you there.
We really enjoyed our first session that we had last fall, and we hope that we have even more participation with this virtual format, as that was one of the pieces of feedback that we got, as well as we've added a couple other things based off of what people said they wanted from the first session. So we hope to see you there, and if you have any questions, you can find me after the service.
Thank you to the leadership development team for all you do. I also want to invite you to stop by the stewardship table in the lobby as it is stewardship season. If you have any questions about your pledge, would like to fill out a pledge form, or would like more information about that. I also would love to invite newcomers, especially today, both online and in person, to join me in the Legacy Room or in the special breakout session if you would like to learn more about the fellowship or Unitarian Universalism. I invite you now to consider something from today's service that you would like to carry with you away from this gathering and into your week. Maybe a phrase, a topic, a song, or something else. It is our hope that this will provide you inspiration and empowerment for you until we are together again. Now please join me in our unison words for extinguishing our chalice flame, even as we continue to hold its warmth and light in our hearts. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world. After these closing words, we will hear a postlude song. We invite those of you who wish to stay for some conversation and response time. Scott will stay in the sanctuary for anyone who wants to chat about the themes of the service for a few minutes. You are welcome to come forward to the seats in the front for the discussion. And if you are joining on Zoom, you are welcome to stay logged on to be part of that conversation. And with that, go with the wisdom of all ages and stages of life, grounded in this multi-generational community. Go in peace, knowing we wait to embrace you upon your return.